Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. I'm your host Hayat. Today we're breaking down 5 college basketball matchups on February 18th, and this slate has some serious layers to it. We've got BYU at Arizona, a matchup that could turn into a tempo chess match. Illinois at USC, where travel and defensive matchups might quietly decide everything. Virginia at Georgia Tech, which feels like one of those grind-it-out ACC spots where every possession matters. Oklahoma at Tennessee, a physical battle that could come down to toughness and rebounding. And Vanderbilt at Missouri, a game where conference familiarity always makes things unpredictable. As an opinion, no guarantees, no hype, just reading the slate the way I see it. Alright, let's lock in and start connecting the dots. First we have BYU at Arizona, and the lean here is Arizona lay the points. Let me walk through why. So we just saw these teams play on January 26th in Provo, and in that one Arizona was laying -1.5, and Arizona won outright. That matters to me because that wasn't some random neutral floor game, that was in Provo, tough place to play, and Arizona still handled it. Now fast forward to this spot, BYU has covered one game in their last 10, one in their last 10, that's not noise, that's a trend screaming at you. They have been a money loser in conference play this season, and I keep asking myself, when does the market adjust? Because in their last game they were laying -15.5 vs Colorado, and they only won by 4. That's the story. They keep getting priced like a high-level team, and then they don't separate. And every time they take a big step up in competition, they've folded. That line keeps echoing in my head because it matches what the numbers say. Now they're walking into Tucson against an Arizona team that has lost back-to-back games. Here's the key, Arizona only has 2 losses this season, and both losses were their last 2 games, loss at Kansas Road and loss to Texas Tech. So what connects for me is this, you're talking about a top 5 team in the country. One of the best teams in the country, sitting on 2 losses total, both coming in the last 2. And now the market is going to shade down just a little because people panic at back-to-back losses. That's the exact bounce-back spot I look for. If this matchup plays out like the talent gap suggests, Arizona should look different at home. BYU, maybe top 25 team. Maybe. I wouldn't even put them in top 15 at this point. They haven't impressed me, especially in conference play, and the numbers back that up. 1 cover in their last 10. Money loser in conference play, laying -15.5 and winning by 4. One path I see here is Arizona jumping early, pressing defensively, and BYU struggling when the competition rises again. I feel like I've been chasing BYU value all season and it just hasn't panned out. This is where I stop chasing and I flip. Arizona in a bounce-back spot, buy low on Zona, lay the points. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Arizona, lay the points. Let's roll into next game now. Illinois at USC, and the lean here is USC plus the points. Let me talk it through. Illinois is going to Los Angeles, California, first time going to the West Coast, and this is one of those scheduling spots I always pause on. They play this game versus USC, then they've got UCLA, then they return back to Big Ten country. That's a trip, and typically, I like to fade Big Ten teams crossing the country. I like to fade ACC teams crossing the country. It's just a mindset thing for me because travel matters, rhythm matters, body clocks matter. Now I do think Illinois is the better team. I do. Illinois, in my opinion, is one of the best teams in the country. But here's where it gets interesting, they rank number 1 in the country in average height. That's been their edge. They've outsized teams, they've picked on teams in the Big Ten with that length and that physical profile. But USC ranks 6 in the country in average height. So what connects for me is this, Illinois' biggest weapon is neutralized at least structurally. If this matchup plays out like a size-on-size battle, that automatic Illinois advantage shrinks. Now USC has been good at home this season. Look at their home loss to Purdue, they lost that game by 5. They kept it close. That matters because if they can hang within 5 against Purdue at home, why can't they hang in this spot? I actually think Illinois wins. I do. I see something like 5 points, maybe 6 points. But that's exactly why I'm saying this line feels like too many points. The line's a bit too big. First game on the West Coast, travel spot. USC has comparable size, ranking 6 in the country in average height. Good at home this season, lost to Purdue at home by 5. One path I see is Illinois grinding this out but not pulling away. If it lands 5, if it lands 6, and you're holding USC plus the points, that's the value. So I'm not stepping in front of Illinois entirely, but I am stepping in front of the number. Too many points, line's a bit too big, give me USC plus the points. And yeah, that's why the lean stays USC plus the points. Here is next game, Virginia at Georgia Tech, and the lean here is Virginia, lay the big number. Let me walk through why. I look at this matchup and the first thing I admit to myself is both of these teams have been losing people money as of late. Georgia Tech losing people money as of late, Virginia losing people money as of late, so this isn't some clean, comfortable spot. Virginia has covered one game in their last 7, one in their last 7. That's not pretty. They're winning games, but haven't been winning by margin. They haven't been able to cover these big numbers. That's the hesitation point for me. If this matchup plays out like it has recently for Virginia, they win but they don't separate, and that's how you burn tickets laying a big number. But what connects for me is context. Earlier in conference play and non-con play, we have seen this team cover. So I know it's in there. I know what this Virginia team is capable of when it clicks. Now I flip to Georgia Tech, and this is where I struggle to find optimism. They lost to Notre Dame by 15. They lost to Wake Forest at home 83-67. They lost to Stanford by 23. So it's not just that they're losing, they're getting blown out. Lost by 15, lost 83-67, lost by 23. If this matchup plays out like those games, if Georgia Tech performs the way they have in those spots, then asking Virginia to finally win by margin doesn't feel crazy. Georgia Tech is described among the worst teams in the ACC, mentioned alongside Pitt's and Boston colleges. That's not good company. One path I see here is Virginia controlling tempo, doing what they do defensively, and Georgia Tech just not having the offensive consistency to stay within range. I keep going back to this, I can't find a path to take Georgia Tech. I try to build the case. I try to say Virginia has covered one game in their last 7. They haven't been able to cover these big numbers, they're winning games but not by margin. But then I stack that next to losing to Notre Dame by 15, losing to Wake Forest at home 83-67, losing to Stanford by 23. If Georgia Tech is playing like that, where's the resistance coming from? What connects for me is opportunity. If Virginia is going to turn it on, if they're going to remind people what they looked like earlier in conference play and non-con play when we have seen this team cover, this is the type of opponent you do it against. So yeah, I respect that Virginia has covered one game in their last 7. I respect that they haven't been able to cover these big numbers. But I can't get myself to touch Georgia Tech when they're losing to bad teams and getting blown out by bad teams. Lay the big number. It would only be Virginia for me. And that's why the lean sticks at Virginia, lay the big number. Quick pause for a second. If you've picked up even one lean you're considering so far, hit that like button. It tells me these full slate breakdowns are actually helping you think through the board. And if you're new here and you like this raw, think it through style, hit subscribe. It takes you 1 second, but it helps the channel grow more than you know. Alright, back to the slate. Next game we have Oklahoma at Tennessee, and the lean here is Oklahoma plus the points. Let me talk through this because this one's tricky. Oklahoma is coming off 2 massive wins. Last game versus Georgia, 194-78. Game before that at Vanderbilt, catching 11.5, and they won 92-91. So they were catching 11.5 and didn't just cover, they won outright 92-91. That's confidence fuel. And before those two, they couldn't buy a win in conference play. So the question I keep asking myself is Oklahoma back? Because if this matchup plays out like the last 2, the offense has clearly flipped a switch. Scored 94 versus Georgia. Scored 92 versus Vanderbilt. 94 and 92. That's a trend. But now they're heading into Knoxville to play Tennessee, and Tennessee is described as one of the better defensive teams in the country. Strong on defensive side of the ball. Not strong offensively, implied, but defensively they're legit. So what connects for me is stylistic contrast. If this matchup plays out like a defensive grind, lower scoring, hard-fought, gritty type of game, then suddenly every point matters. And that's where I start staring at the number because it's a lot of points to lay. It is a lot of points to lay in what I think could be lower scoring. I even thought about an under. I did. Because if Tennessee dictates tempo and Oklahoma isn't playing Georgia's defense anymore, they're playing Tennessee in Knoxville, then those 94 and 92 outputs might not translate. One path I see is Tennessee slowing it down, making Oklahoma uncomfortable, making them work deep into the shot clock. But here's the other path, riding the hot hand. Oklahoma scored 94 versus Georgia, 92 versus Vanderbilt, 194-78, 192-91 catching 11.5. Momentum matters in college basketball. Confidence matters. If this matchup plays out like Oklahoma playing free and loose offensively, even against a strong defensive team, then catching points in what could be lower scoring becomes valuable. I'm not pretending this is a perfect stylistic matchup for Oklahoma. It's not. Tennessee is strong on the defensive side of the ball. That's probably why I'm not going to bet this one personally. I'm just keeping it real. But if I had to bet it, I'm taking Oklahoma plus the points. Because in a lower scoring, hard-fought, gritty type of game, laying a lot of points becomes uncomfortable. Ride the hot hand. Give me Oklahoma. Yeah, that's why the lean stays Oklahoma plus the points. Last game in this video I analyze for you is between Vanderbilt at Missouri, and the lean here is Missouri Tigers to keep this one close. Let me walk through why. I've been saying it all season long, Missouri at home has just been a different animal at home. I don't know how else to put it. This team is 13-2 straight up at home. 13-2. That's not fluky. That's not random. That's a pattern. Now on the road, they really can't be trusted, and that's part of the identity of this team. But this isn't a road game. This is Columbia, Missouri. They are very strong at home. They've been a really strong team this year in this building. Now here's the wrinkle, they're coming off a home loss to Texas, and that loss to Texas was their second home loss of the season. So now you're talking about a 13-2 straight up at home team, coming off their second home loss of the season, sitting in a spot where they get another opportunity in their own gym. What connects for me is response. If this matchup plays out like Missouri typically plays at home, then I expect a completely different level of intensity after dropping that one to Texas. Now Vanderbilt, I respect it, they've won 5 of their last 6 games. That's not nothing. They're playing some good ball right now. At the same time, they've struggled against some of the better teams in SEC play. That's been the theme. So if this matchup plays out like Vanderbilt stepping up into a tougher road environment against a team that is 13-2 straight up at home, then we have to at least question how sustainable that 5 of their last 6 games stretches in this spot. Because when I look at Vanderbilt's road losses, they lost to Texas 84-64 on the road. They lost to Arkansas 93-68 on the road, 84-64, 93-68. Those are not coin flip games. Those are not last possession games. Those are tough losses. So one path I see here is Vanderbilt looking good in stretches, but when they face physicality and pressure on the road, it can get away from them. Now here's where I have to be honest about Missouri. They turn over the ball a lot. That scares me. They struggle from the free throw line. That scares me too, because if you're trying to keep a game close or win late, turnovers and missed free throws are how you let teams hang around or steal one. So if this matchup plays out like Missouri sloppy with the ball and not converting at the line, that's how Vanderbilt flips it. That's the concern. That's the hesitation. But I keep coming back to the number. I keep staring at it and thinking, too many points. I really do. You're going to give me all these points with Missouri at home. A team that is 13-2 straight up at home. A team that has been described as a different animal at home. Very strong at home. A really strong team this year. That's where I want to be. If this matchup plays out like Missouri feeding off that crowd, tightening up the turnovers just enough, and not letting Vanderbilt get comfortable early, then I think this is a possession game late. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri won this game outright. I know that sounds bold, but when you stack 13-2 straight up at home next to Vanderbilt's 84-64 loss at Texas and 93-68 loss at Arkansas, you can absolutely build that case. So yeah, Vanderbilt has won 5 of their last 6 games. Yes, they're playing some good ball right now. Yes, Missouri turns over the ball a lot and struggles from the free throw line. But what connects for me is home court identity and the value of too many points. You're going to give me all these points with Missouri at home. I'm taking them. And that's why the lean sticks at Missouri Tigers to keep this one close. Alright, that wraps it up for all 5 matchups on February 18th. As always, this was analysis and opinion only, nothing guaranteed. Just me breaking down how these spots could unfold if the situational edges show up the way they look on paper. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a Z in the comments and tell me which game you're most confident in tonight, or if you're fading one of my reads completely. I read all of it. More breakdowns coming soon, same raw format, same deep dives, same beyond the box score energy. I'll see you in the next one.